carry passengers. It usually sails from New Ross to Quebec, carrying an average of 176 passengers, returning with cargo consisting usually of timber and guano. Now guano was another name for bird droppings, which they used as fertiliser. Also during the famine, a lot of ships were termed coffin ships, and the reason for this was, at the time it wasn't unheard of for 50% of passengers to die. However, most of the ships sailing were quite safe, and the Dunbrody was one of those. And I'll just give you an example. In 1847, we have records of the Dunbrody sailing with 313 passengers on board, 313 people on a small ship. Then by the time that this goes on, only 5 had died, and 3 more died by the time that this goes on. Which is great for a small ship in that period of time. Now before we head below deck, there's a few features I would like to point out to you. So I'll start with ship wheel. Quite simple really. The sailor turns the wheel, that turns the rudder, and the ship turns. This here is the companionway. It leads down to the captain's quarters or the first class cabin. This here is the capstan, and it's used as a winch to haul heavy items up onto the mast. Then over here there's usually be 2 fires lit on the deck. Steerage passengers will get a half an hour to come up onto the deck. Then they'd have to queue to get to the fires. If they didn't reach the fires on time, or if the weather was bad, they'd have to eat their food raw. Also the steerage passengers, they didn't get any meat, they just got flour, water and rice. So if they got to the fires, they'd usually make okay. Also you see the barrels here, the barrels are here. They would fill with fresh water. The water was carefully ratified, because I had to last the length of the voyage. The length of the voyage usually took about 6 to 8 weeks. So now I'm just going to take it down to the bow of the ship, so that you follow me this way please. And from the tip of the bowsprit to the back of the ship is 176 feet in length. We also have 3 masts. We have the mizzen mast, we have the main mast, and we have the foremast here. The main mast, that's the centre one, is 110 feet from the deck to the top. The crew would have to try to sail, which is difficult enough to have fully on a quayside. Can you imagine it out in the middle of the Atlantic? It's pretty hard for them to stay on it. Then this here is called the galley, and this is where the cook would cook for the captain, for the first class passengers and for the crew. We didn't cook for the steerage passengers, they had to fend for themselves. This here is another companionway that leads down to the steerage, and underneath here is called the forecastle deck, and this is where they stored live animals. Now it's not that big, so it would be just small animals such as pigs, hens, hares and rabbits. So if they ran short in food, or if they wanted to be a fresh meat, they would just kill an animal. Yeah. The only original piece on the ship here is the bell. It's 150 years old, and that was donated to the Dunbrody by the Graves family of New Ross. They also commissioned 8 other ships to sail as well during the famine. So now I'm just going to take you down below deck just to let you see how the passengers aboard travelled, alright? So I'll let you follow me this way please.
Go ahead.
Now this is called the saloon in here, and this is where the first class passengers travelled. In the original ship, those 2 doors wouldn't be there, that would be a complete blank wall. So you wouldn't see the steerage passengers, you wouldn't have anything to do with the steerage passengers. Also you'd have the freedom to go up onto the deck as often as you like. To travel first class you got your nice cabin, you got to dine with the captains, therefore you got better food. But it also cost a lot of money. It cost £25. £25 was a lot of money then, because you could buy an acre of land for £5. So it was pretty expensive to travel first class. This here is the captain's quarters, and these 2 cabins back here are the first class cabins. There was also a first mate's cabin. The first class toilet was called a latrine, and basically it's just a hole in the side of the ship, but you had the privacy of a door. Not like the steerage passengers. Their toilet was called an open toilet, and that consisted of a bucket up on the deck. A lot of the ladies didn't like to use this because they felt the sailors would be watching them, so instead they went to the toilet below deck. So you can imagine the smell that came from that wouldn't be very pleasant. So now I'm just going to take you out to where the steerage passengers travelled, but when the tour is over you can always come back in here and have a look around, alright? So I'll just bring you out this way when you're ready. Mind the space, please.
First class bunkers. They didn't have many bunks, did they?
No.
Taking each other.
Now this is where the steerage passengers travelled, and they were the poorer passengers. They paid between £4 to £5 for their fare. A lot of them were evicted tenants, so the landlord paid the fare for them. Usually a family would sleep in the bunks here. If they had a big family, they'd have to take turns in sleeping. Also they brought a few belongings with them, but they weren't allowed to bring too much because they take up too much space. So they just bring utilities that they could cook in, and they bring blankets. Also they got a ration of about £4 of flour a week, and that had to do with family. And they just make their own cakes then if they got up to the fires. They got about 6 pints of water a day, but they had to cook with that water as well. Also, if the weather was bad, the hatches would be closed here, and they mightn't get up onto the deck to empty the buckets, so the smell would be pretty bad. Also, it wouldn't be as bright as what it is now. They might only have one of those lights, or maybe just hanging there, and they probably go on the children wet. You know, so it's pretty tough for them. So now, we have two types of passengers. We have a steerage passenger, and we have a cabin passenger. So I'm going to introduce you to a steerage passenger now, and her name is Anne White. Feeding the baby?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Anne White. I have 5 children. The twins 14, Richard 10, Henry 6, and the baby here that was born last winter. We lived 60 miles away from here on the Fitzwilliam estate. Tenants there since we were wed. My husband David worked as a farm labourer. He got £1 a day when he worked. He didn't work often because of sickness. Oh, I'm not sorry to be left. The rain always came through the thatch in winter, and the children were often sick. We lost 2 little ones last winter. We don't want to send this one to God too. Free passage, the landlord said, to a new land, a better life. I think he just wanted us off the land myself. But I said to my husband, husband, we've got to go. Anything has to be better than this. We're often wet and cold, and I'm tired listening to the children crying with hunger pains. He said he knew when Anne was born we couldn't bear to lose another child. But he said, I will. My children will have it better than me, he said. I won't go into the workhouse. And he went that evening to find out about free passage. So the hardest part was telling the children. They'd ask where we're going, and I'd tell them America. I'd say, where's America? Sure, I couldn't tell him, I didn't know. I never left the estate, only once a year to go to the Auckland Fair. What could I tell him about America? All I could tell him was I knew we had to go. It took us 2 days' travel to get here. The landlord let Jack, the houseman, come with us on the cart. We put all our belongings on the cart and off we went. Then when we arrived after the 2 long days, the captain didn't say to us, God, you can't bring all that stuff on board. There's no room. Well, if it didn't break me heart to leave a few bits we did all behind. But sure, what could we do? It was in the hopes of a better life. We knew it couldn't be any worse anyway. This is where we used to stay.